Welcome to the wonderful world of travel. I'm Jon Haggins, a GlobeTrotter. I'm here in Dallas and the Fort Worth area. There's so much to see: the ranch, the rodeo, the food, the people. I had an opportunity to go to someone's home. It was so fantastic. Just meeting the people. There's nothing like the people whenever you go to a destination.
We are here at the Old Post Office Museum and Art Center in Graham, Texas. Some of the things that you will be seeing today is a new exhibit that has just gone up called Young County Families. We ask families in the area to bring things from their home, from the first descendants up until today. We have 13 families represented, and you will find things from wedding dresses to spurs to biscuit cutters. In the museum, our permanent history exhibit starts at the Warren Wagon Train Massacre. The next case you will see is the Graham brothers when they came and settled Graham in 1872. Our exhibit will end with the Cattle Raisers Association that was begun here in Graham, Texas, and where we ask you to give us your name and your town. Right above that is the original brand book when the cattle raisers started registering their first brands.
The African American Museum in Dallas was founded in 1974 as a part of Bishop College, which is now closed. We stayed with the college as a part of the college until 1979.
There are 5 galleries in the African American Museum, and each one features a different aspect of African American culture.
Became the foundation for African American art, doing business as the African American Museum.
We're in the exhibition titled Sankofa, which is a word meaning one must retrieve its past in order to move forward. It tells a story of a segment of the population that little is known about, and that is free people of color who were living and working in the United States during the Civil War. Many were successful businessmen, such as Thomas Day, who was an African-American furniture maker. There were silversmiths, weavers, Dave the Potter, who's one of the first African-American artists to ever sign his name to his work.
The architect was a local fellow who had worked with us when we were at Bishop College, working with about $250,000. And when we got into the bond election, we just felt that we were morally obligated to keep him because he had worked with us when we had no money. His name is Art Rogers. And he worked with us and did a lot of research because we wanted this building to reflect our heritage. You will see some symbols of West African civilization, like the Dogon figure. And then you look at the windows, you will see the design for the entrance of one of the rock churches in Ethiopia. And throughout the building, we tried to reflect the African experience, that is the pre-industrialized African look and motif in this building.
In this exhibition, we also feature furniture made by slaves. I'm standing in front of some slave-made chairs. Some are for children. They're ladder-back chairs, utilitarian. The other thing that this exhibition focuses on is that slavery was not random picking, going to Africa and gathering people. It was a highly organized system, and that the Europeans who were traveling to Africa for slaves wanted slaves who were extremely skilled. They were looking for persons that worked with copper to become silversmiths, metalsmiths, weavers to make fabrics and clothes, as well as the quilts that you see behind me. Furniture makers, they wanted men who were herdsmen to work with the cattle and the horses. So what you're seeing behind me are some of the examples of the ingenuity of the African-American slaves.
We have another gallery that houses our folk art collection. We have one of the largest collections of African-American folk art in the country.
Right now I'm standing in front of a quilt that was a slave-made quilt. It's titled Ring Around the World Strip Quilt, and this was all sewn by hand. And also, I would like to bring your attention to the Mammy Bench, which is a very unique design On the surface, it looks like a typical bench that you would sit on the porch. But if you'll notice, it has the 3 holes here. And the reason for the 3 holes is that it had an identical slat that would fit into the holes where this bench would then turn into a crib. So that's just an example of how the slaves were using design and thinking about what they needed to create functional pieces of furniture for the master. This is an example of furniture that was created by Thomas Day. Thomas Day was a very unique man. He started learning the craft of furniture making as a young child. He was a free person of color. He was very politically tied into his community so that he had somewhat of a better life than most. His furniture was made for people of status. The wealthiest people in the community, they would seek him out to build furniture. And he was himself considered to be one of the richest men in his community. And this is a buffet, an example of a buffet. A lot of his pieces feature this S-curve leg. And that's also a design element that was used at the time to let people know that you had somewhat of a higher social standing, because you could afford to have intricate details made into your furniture. Most people, if they were having their furniture made and they were thinking in terms of saving money, they would prefer a straight leg. So this was just a slight clue that when people walked into your house, that you did have an expendable income. One thing you'll notice when you look around this exhibition is the fact that the furniture is very contemporary. Although it was made over 100 years ago, the style or styles that we still incorporate into our homes today. For instance, this daybed, which was created by a artist from Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana, Dutril Barjon. And you see it's very much what we would consider to be a sleigh bed, but this is a daybed. This was something you would have in your parlor. It would have slats across it and mattresses on top so that you could take a nap. People, like we do today, they don't go and climb in their bed with their clothes on at this time because their clothes were not as clean. They couldn't be dry cleaned as often, and so they would have a daybed that they could relax on and take an afternoon nap.
After the mint julep.
Yeah. Yeah, after throwing back a couple of
You know, the best thing about traditional furniture is the style never fades. The furniture looks so contemporary, you can use it today.
This world could ever change the way I feel, for I know that it's real, it's truly love. I used to think that
His name is Franken Lewis, and he's originally from East Texas, and now he's a professor of art in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Franken Lewis is a contemporary artist who paints with monochromatic colors. His patterns are so fluid.
Sunbeams are chasing each other through trees. Leaves are whispering to the soft breeze. I'm just sitting here watching another blade of grass grow. Well, I'm just sitting here watching another blade